Jasmine Crockett had always been a firebrand in the courtroom and on Capitol Hill, known for her sharp wit and unapologetic voice. So, when news broke that Chief Justice John Roberts had fined her a staggering $200,000, it sent shockwaves across the political landscape. What could have caused such a drastic move from the usually composed and restrained head of the Supreme Court? The whispers began, rumors swirled, and the nation waited for Jasmine's response. She didn't rush to social media or issue a press release immediately. Instead, she remained silent for days, fueling curiosity and tension. Then, when she finally stepped to the podium in a packed conference hall, her words sent a chill through the establishment and left many stunned, including Judge Roberts himself. Roberts' fine wasn't just a legal slop-up, it was a symbolic move. He cited what he called gross misconduct and disruptive behavior, allegedly connected to Crockett's defiant refusal to comply with a subpoena issued in a high-profile political hearing. His explanation hinted at procedural chaos, suggesting that her comments had undermined the integrity of judicial decorum. Critics of Roberts argued that the fine was personal, politically motivated, and unprecedented in its harshness. Supporters claimed it was long overdue, but everyone agreed it was bold. The legal and political communities braced for impact. Jasmine, however, seemed calm, too calm, and that calm before the storm is what made her eventual reply so seismic. When Jasmine Crockett finally addressed the fine, she didn't open with outrage or denial. Instead, she thanked Judge Roberts for reminding the country exactly what power looks like when it's threatened. Her voice was steady, each word calculated, piercing the quiet room like a judge's gavel. She refused to backpedal. "I will not apologize," she said plainly, "for standing where others have sat silently." The audience gasped. There were murmurs of support. Some shouted yes. From the back, her tone wasn't defensive, it was proud, almost poetic. She wasn't just answering Roberts as she was rewriting the rules of engagement. Her words weren't just for the judge, they were for every citizen watching. In her speech, Jasmine detailed how the $200,000 fine represented more than just a legal consequence. "This is not about money," she said. "It's about sending a message, one that I will not allow to be delivered without resistance." She highlighted the broader context, a political system increasingly uncomfortable with dissent, particularly when it comes from outspoken black women in power. She linked the fine to a legacy of silencing bold voices throughout American history. Her supporters began circulating clips of her speech online. Within hours, hashtags like #StandWithCrockett and #FreeVoices began trending. People across the country, lawyers, activists, students started to echo her sentiments. Judge Roberts, typically above the political fray, found himself pulled into an emotional and reputational storm. His team issued a brief, measured statement reaffirming his stance on the fine, citing legal precedent and decorum. But his voice trembled slightly during a rare press interaction, when asked how he felt about Jasmine's response. "I respect all elected officials," he said, "even when they disagree with my decisions." It was the first sign that Jasmine's words had struck a nerve. Behind the robes and chambers, a human being had heard her reply, and it clearly shook something loose. The narrative was no longer about punishment, it was about power, emotion, and public reckoning. The next few days were a whirlwind. Political commentators, civil rights activists, and legal experts debated the implications of the fine. Some viewed it as a necessary enforcement of judicial boundaries, while others called it a political slap meant to humble a rising voice. News outlets ran Jasmine's full speech on loop, dissecting her language and tone. At rallies, her supporters carried posters that read, "You can find my wallet, but not my voice." Donors poured in funds to cover the fine, some offering more than needed just to make a statement. Jasmine refused most of it. "This is my battle," she said. "Not a fundraiser, this is principle." Even international media picked up the story. The BBC called it a uniquely American showdown between power and defiance. In France, one newspaper labeled Jasmine the modern-day Joan of Arc, but it was a local journalist from Texas who asked a question that really cracked the story wide open. If this is how we treat elected officials standing up for their beliefs, What message are we sending everyday citizens? That question echoed far beyond press rooms. Jasmine quoted it herself during a follow-up appearance on national television. "That's exactly it," she said. "It's not about me. It's about what comes next." Behind the scenes, members of Congress quietly expressed concern. Privately, some believed the fine had gone too far and worried it would set a dangerous precedent. Publicly, they remained silent, unsure whether to side with the most senior judge in the nation or the rising voice of defiance. Jasmine's allies stood firm. Representatives who had rarely agreed with her in the past began posting messages of solidarity. It wasn't a partisan issue anymore. It was a democratic one. "Let her speak," they said, and Jasmine kept speaking. At schools, churches, and town halls, every platform became her courtroom. Every person, her jury. Roberts, a figure known for calm and caution, began avoiding media altogether. Sources close to the court described him as reflective and reserved after the incident. A leaked memo suggested that he regretted how the fine was perceived, even if he didn't regret the decision itself. Meanwhile, Jasmine used her growing influence to push for new legislation protecting elected officials from judicial financial penalties stemming from non-criminal dissent. It gained traction. The story wasn't just about one fine anymore. It had sparked a potential reform movement. One moment of confrontation had turned into a national call for change. In a rare televised roundtable, Jasmine was asked what she would say to Judge Roberts if given the chance face-to-face. Her answer left the host and viewers speechless. "I'd say thank you," she said, "not because I agree with the fine, but because it revealed how much work we still have to do. You gave me a spotlight when you tried to turn it off." The room fell silent. It was clear that her journey wasn't about revenge. It was about resilience. Judge Roberts, who was reportedly watching, was later said to have shed tears during that moment, not out of defeat but perhaps out of understanding, or even remorse.